So, ladies and gentlemen, after watching several videos on YouTube on how to improve your ad creative, I unfortunately had noticed that, the majority of those videos and, the different contents that are online, unfortunately, do not really properly give you an overview on what to do in order to improve your ad creative. When you search on YouTube for how to improve your ad creative, different videos pop up from, videos that talk about general best practices for your Facebook ads to, how many ads or ad creatives you should ideally have within each ad set. Don't get me wrong, there's a time and place for this information and it's definitely good to know, right? However, it does not really cover how to properly and accurately, improve your creative, your particular ad creative, not the ad creative of this particular YouTuber or this particular account, rather than your particular ad creative. With this video, I finally want to put an end to this, so take out pen and paper and listen carefully for the next couple of minutes. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what your headline structure looks like, what ad copy you're using rather than short form or long form copy, or how many ad creatives you should have or you do have in your ad set. Because what works for most accounts, or for this account in particular, from this YouTuber or this account, does not necessarily work for you, and definitely not work for any account out there. Meaning that only because this particular person or those 3 accounts had tremendous success with implementing this particular type of ad creative within their account, this does not necessarily mean that you and your account will actually have success with that. And it definitely doesn't mean that you should switch your whole account and marketing strategy to this particular type of ad creative or this particular style on how to write your ad copy or headlines just because this particular video said so. It is true, and some of those best practices do really work. For example, videos are generally more engaging and they can convey more messaging and more information about a product or service in a shorter amount of time. However, for every 3 accounts where video performs extremely well, there is definitely one account where images and static pictures or carousel ads completely outperform video content. This is, for example, particularly true for niches where there's not a whole lot of explanation needed to actually get the product. We're talking fashion, we're talking about furniture, and similar niches like this. With those particular niches, the consumer does not really need a lot of explanation for the product. You either like the t-shirt or the particular, sweater, or you just don't. And actually, kind of additional information or, lengthening the sales process by providing or creating a 30 seconds or 1 minute video can actually harm your ad performance. However, this does also not mean that if you are a fashion brand, you should go out there and only run image tests or image ads. No, you need to test. So, however, let's quickly run with that example of image ads. And a lot of articles or YouTube videos out there talk about that if you are running image ads, you should at least be kind of really making an effort to go ahead and differentiate yourselves from all the other image ads that are out there, or the kind of more generic and genuine organic social media content. A lot of videos talk about then, having a more colorful image, having, big fat headlines, or talking about particular hooks. However, here again, similar to, your video ads, for every 3 accounts where this works tremendously well, where they have like a huge headline, in colorful letters and whatsoever, for every 3 accounts of those, there's one account where, simple white background product imagery works tremendously better than this colorful and really emphasizing image creative. So having this in mind, what does it actually mean? Should you just simply not care about your creative anymore? No, this actually means the opposite, and you've probably already guessed it. You should always be testing. A-B-T. Always be testing. It doesn't matter, kind of what you've heard in terms of best practices, what works for your particular niche. You should always be testing in order to see how your consumer and particular target audience reacts and engages with this particular piece of ad creative. Testing drives growth. This has been proven over and over again. So now you might be asking, okay, Victor, however, how should we actually be testing then? first of all, before we get into the weeds of how you should be testing and talk about testing frameworks or whatsoever, first of all, testing requires budget. And, this is a budget that you need to calculate with as a Facebook advertiser or a particular brand that wants to advertise on Facebook. If you just don't have that budget and you want to be prospecting on Facebook at scale, then you just simply shouldn't do it, right? There are other platforms and, marketing methods out there where, your money is better spent. And, so make sure to always really calculate a particular portion of your budget and really allocate that to testing in particular. However, as soon as you have kind of settled on your budget and allocated a portion of that for testing in particular, then the next question arises, and that is, how can I objectively evaluate my particular ad creative? And this is a crux where, thousands, if not even millions of Facebook advertisers go wrong, and even big brands that spend millions of dollars per year on Facebook don't really know how to solve that issue. Ultimately, every good growth marketer out there, knows that we are plagued by our own biases, and usually what we think will perform the best and looks the most appealing usually will not perform the best. Therefore, just trusting your gut feeling and just kind of launching on, optimizing on what you think looks the best and performs the best is a surefire way to lose a lot of money. So what does this mean for us as an advertiser, being aware of that we have our own biases and that usually, the things that we find or think are appealing and compelling for our target audience usually end up not being the best performers. What does this mean for us? Well, it means that we should always be open to test new ideas and actually launch things that we, actively think will not perform that well. We should even encourage testing those ideas that we do not really are in favor of. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether a test fails or wins. You will always learn from it. This is the secret how, massive companies like Twitter, Uber, or Facebook, actually had this insane growth curve because they were testing. This is one of the mantras that, those big and, innovative companies in Silicon Valley have is, fail fast. However, additionally to that, not only those huge corporations where you might think they have, a lot of budget to burn, also just a lot of small but innovative and high growth rate D2C e-commerce companies really always make sure to be testing all year long. So having that understood, how should you go ahead and, objectively evaluate your test and have a, objective creative framework that you can use to, see whether a test fails or wins? Should you use Facebook, engagement rankings, CPMs, or cost per click in order to evaluate your ad creative performance? No, because every good Facebook growth marketer understands that those metrics are completely arbitrary and do not really have a lot to do with your Facebook ad creative performance. They can serve as directional metrics, but a metric like cost per click does not necessarily equal good ad creative performance. So we could go down this rabbit hole on why high cost per click does not necessarily equal bad ad creative performance, and also why for example a super low cost per click does not necessarily really good ad creative performance. However, this pretty much requires its own dedicated video. So if you want to know more about this, then comment below and I'll make sure to record a whole video just talking about why metrics like CPM or cost clicks are not really good indicators for your ad creative performance, neither your whole campaign performance. Now back to objectively measuring and evaluating your ad creative performance. At Victory Media, we therefore have established an easy and simple but really disruptive 4-step creative framework that evaluates and objectively measures the ad creative performance. We call this framework the adjusted AIDA framework. You might already be familiar with the age-old AIDA marketing principle. If not, then here you go with a quick graphic. It essentially says that a good advertisement should bring the consumer through, 4 different stages: awareness, interest, desire, and ultimately it should also provoke your consumer to take an action. In the e-commerce world, this usually translates into a purchase. Now we've gone ahead and adjusted this, age-old marketing principle that was, established in 1898 and actually adjusted it to our modern day online marketing and media buying principles. We therefore have established proxy metrics. Attention, the first stage in this marketing principle. When can we confidently say that we've successfully grabbed the attention of somebody with our ad creative? We at Victory Media have decided that after 3 seconds, when somebody spends more than 3 seconds with our ad creative, we can confidently say that this particular person has spent some time and actually paid attention to our ad creative. Therefore, we've created the custom metric within our Facebook ads dashboard that is, 3-second video views divided by impression, because we knew that we had to put this attention metric of 3-second video views into relation to how many people we've delivered that ad to and could have, potentially actually grabbed the attention to. So this metric will actually give you a percentage metric of how many people have paid attention to your ad creative relative to the, overall amount of people that you've delivered your ads to. The second stage of this process, interest. After we've successfully grabbed the attention of somebody, we ask ourselves, how long can we, actively engage this particular person that has already paid attention to our ad? How long can we engage this person with our ad creative? For this, we chose the native Facebook ad metric, average playtime or average video watch time. Then desire, the ability of our ad creative to, actually not only pay attention or engage with our ad creative, but know more about the benefits of the product and know more about our brand itself. To represent our ad's ability to do this, we defaulted to, again, a Facebook native ad metric, which is unique click-through rate. And last but not least, ROAS, the ad's ability to actually convert somebody from, a completely unknown stranger to a loyal and paying customer. Those 4 partially dependent metrics give you a pretty good estimate and more importantly, an objective measure on what you need to do in order to improve your ad creative. It does not only give you a pretty good overview on, whether your ad is performing well or if it doesn't, but it also gives you an objective measurement framework on to see what, your ad does well and where it performs good and where it has maybe a little bit more room of improvement, right? Room for improvement. Is it, the attention metric? Is it actually kind of converting somebody that has started to pay attention to that ad creative and bringing them onto the landing page or website, right? What can you improve in order to improve your overall ad creative performance and your return for your ads and campaigns? Let's just for kicks take a look at an example where we really evaluate our creative's performance by taking, Facebook metrics like engagement rankings, CPMs, or cost per click. Meaning, let's take a look at creative A. Right now creative A performs at a $1 cost per click. It's almost sure to say that by the the same time next year, this cost per click will have increased from $1 to $1.30. So why did this happen? Because you didn't really, actually change anything from the creative. The reason for this is the natural increase in CPMs. Advertising on Facebook becomes more and more, expensive year on year. The reason for that is because, it's a simple demand and supply. Meaning the supply, the people that are on Facebook, the eyeballs that are scrolling through their timelines, is pretty much staying consistent over the years. However, the amount of advertisers joining the game actually increases, which overall increases the total amount of dollars you have to pay to reach one particular person, or then on a bigger scale, 1,000, 100,000, or even 1,000,000. This example alone is the proof that evaluating your ad creative performance with a metric like cost per click is inherently flawed. The reason for this is because they're dependent on a metric that is arbitrary and that you cannot necessarily influence neither improve. It's just simply out of your hand. Additionally to a more resilient feedback loop, the adjusted AIDA framework also gives you a better and objective estimate on what you can improve in particular and how well your creative does a particular job. Let's use an example here real quick. In scenario A, we use CTR as the only metric to evaluate our creative performance. In scenario B, on the other hand, we use our AIDA framework to evaluate and optimize your creative performance. In both scenarios, we have a CTR click-through rate of 1.1%, which is underperforming for this account. In scenario A, we throw the creative and all the work associated with this creative and creating it and optimizing it and whatsoever in the bin, stating the proof that, we had a below average click-through rate. In scenario B, on the other hand, we see that we have an underperforming click-through rate, but we have an above average attention rate of 45%. Our account's average is 30%. What does this mean for us? Essentially, it means that our creative does a really great job at, kind of grabbing the attention of somebody, but is not really the best at actually converting this attention into a desire to know more about the product and brand. So what can we take from this observation? Meaning that due to the reason that we have an increased attention rate metric, we know for a fact that, probably our first 3 to 6 seconds are, performing extraordinarily well and doing a great job at actually grabbing the attention of somebody. However, then probably it flattens out and the particular, consumer or prospect or, person that watches this ad does not really see any incentive on why they should actually, do this action right now and click on the ad instead of just, continuing to scroll down their timeline. This means for us that we need to do a better job at actually testing, the clips or the captions or just generally the incentive and urgency that we have provided in the, ad creative in general after second 3 to 6. Meaning, how can we actually increase the action rate of, converting this increased intention of 45% of people that are, watching this ad? How can we convert this group of people into people that think, okay, let's actually also click this ad right now because I want to know more about the product and what it can actually do for me. Again, our adjusted AIDA framework has not only given you a, better and more objective overview on how your particular creative performs and, that you can measure against your creative baseline or, let it compete against other creative tests, but it also gives you a more, measurable and objective feedback loop where you can then see, okay, what are the learnings out of this creative and how can we improve the status quo? The most important rule, just to quickly come back to actually, general principles on how to improve your ad creative, is that, odds are that your first, neither your second ad creative that you will launch within your campaigns will perform very well. The key to improving your ad creative is to test one, to evaluate its performance, take the learnings and the key insights and takeaways out of this creative performance, and then iterate off of that and optimize your creative by testing more and more variations. With this at hand and properly implemented and you continuously optimizing your ad creative, you will be the first and top 1% of global advertisers. This is the simple truth. This is something that a lot of advertisers and especially media buyers don't understand. You don't have to optimize your numbers. You have to optimize for your consumers and consumer journey and their feedback. Now, with that being said, if you already have a couple of creative tests running or you already have a couple of tests, a couple of creatives that you kind of want to evaluate, then use this adjusted AIDA framework to see, okay, what have we been doing right and what are the things that we can, kind of improve going into the future. If you, however, have not even, maybe only have, launched one creative or you've been running with just 1 or 2 creatives for, a couple of months now, or you even have maybe not even launched one Facebook ad in general, then you want to make sure that you really start testing first. At Victory Media, those are then usually the first tests we launch: creative angle test, creative format test, type of creative test, and a messaging angle test. Those are all really valuable tests that you can run if you haven't done so, or if you haven't tested anything at all. Make sure to test this now or in the following weeks. In the creative angle test, we would then usually test different motivations and creative angles to talk to those different buyer personas at BRAINEFFECT differently. Let's take a look at them. So there are probably various reasons why would somebody buy their products, and usually a brand, especially one like BRAINEFFECT, has various buyer personas. One would buy the supplement for increased performance that would, for example, be a young professional. Another one would be intrigued to buy it to counter mental health problems and increase their potential happiness. And another reason would be, for example, to increase physical well-being. Crafting different messages that, speak to those different buyer personas will be key in order to launch this creative angle test. And then, you need to evaluate and see which of those buyer performers, personas converts the best and which of your creative angles outperforms the other one according to the AIDA framework. As soon as this is done and you've, successfully identified a particular buyer persona, then you can move on to the, type of creative test. So what do I mean with that? So let's say for a second that, your performance-based angle performed the best in your previous test. Then you could convey that angle in various different types of creative, right? You could use a more social-focused type of content like UGC content, then a more product-focused type of content where you have, high-quality product footage or, large captions. And ultimately, you could also throw in a creative where they have a split screen where one, there's the product display, and on the right-hand side, for example, there's a more UGC video. You test those and see which of those ad performances or, which of those ad creatives performs the best. Relatively quickly, probably in the first couple of weeks, you will notice a significant increase in ad creative performance. In conclusion, this is really just how you improve your ad creative. You go ahead, evaluate your current creative performance, set a benchmark or a baseline or both, and then kind of just, take the learnings from your tests and evaluate them and iterate off of them. Obviously, there are best practices for your ad creative, like, for example, videos engage better normally on Facebook, or, this and this particular ad copy could increase your purchasing intent. However, ultimately, there's no golden creative out there. You just got to keep testing. Now, before we wrap it up, if you want to have a free AIDA creative performance audit made by my team and myself, then click down to the first link in the description. There you can schedule into a free 30-minute consultation call with me personally, where we can then go over what you're currently doing, what is holding back your growth, and fill the leaky holes that we identify in this particular call. So usually only paying clients get those exclusive AIDA reports done by me and my team. However, if you schedule into this call right now and mention that you come from this video, then I'll make sure that before we hop on this call, my team gets this free AIDA report ready so we can go over this and you can have more tangible results going out of this call, and to see what you can actually implement in order to start improving your ad creative and increasing your returns for your Facebook ads. Because this is what we here at Victor Media do on a daily basis. We exclusively work with e-commerce companies and brands between $150,000 and $10 million in annual revenue, and help them to get to the next level by, for example, figuring out their creative performance, how to improve their ad creative, and really laying out a creative strategy that fills those leaky holes and makes sure to increase their returns on their investment with Facebook. So if you want to stop spending money on underperforming creative, then head down to the first link in the description and I'll be looking forward to talking to you soon. Either way, I hope this video was of any help for you and you can take those things that we talked about today and make sure to implement that in your ad account ASAP, because the sooner you implement this, the better off you will be. So if you think that this video was of any help, then I would appreciate a thumbs up and maybe a comment below. This does not only make my day, but it also gives me more motivation and, more importantly, also feedback. It gives me a feedback loop to see, okay, what actually performs better, what does the audience on YouTube want to see. So thank you for that, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Keep growing. Thank you so much for watching the video to this point. I know that if you've come this far, that you form a part of an exclusive group of people that do not only talk, but walk the talk, and that you are hungry for more content. So therefore, I went ahead and picked out an exclusive video just for you that I know you're going to love. Check it out right here.